Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today's video we are going to be talking about our rights. This time with the United States Bill of Rights, and another thing to kind of follow up with that. Now we all know the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments of our Constitution. They were put in shortly after the Constitution itself was presented, and it's to preserve some personal freedoms and rights and limit some of the government's power in some proceedings. So yeah. Anti-Federalists. I'm trying to see where the lists are. Articles. Do we have a list of the amendments? Okay, First Amendment. See, this wasn't originally in the Constitution. It was something added right on to it toward the beginning, right after the Constitution itself was proposed. And so this is like, okay, this is the First Amendment we want to make. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, it don't matter. We are not a Christian nation. We are not a Muslim nation. We are not a Jewish nation. Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, Satanist, whatever. It don't matter. There is no religion that we must follow the rules of. Period. But we are not to prevent citizens from exercising their freedoms of religion or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So there are rights to say what you want, though there are stipulations and limits that certain things, regardless, are unacceptable if they're a thing that guarantees, is like a direct guaranteed threat. And the press, they have a right to publish. They used to have guidelines that say, try to publish facts, please, but Reagan and his FCC cronies destroyed that. Or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So simply, that means the right to protest. Say, we cannot allow this, and this is what we are fighting about. What we are not fighting, but protesting over. That's what that allows. Now, anyway, Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I think most people just follow this and they tend to be like, ignore this little caveat here, well regulated militia. We don't use militias anymore. We use armies. But regardless, Third Amendment. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in the manner to be prescribed by law. So essentially, soldiers during and before the Revolution, the British used to have soldiers stay in the house of colonialists. You know, regardless of whether you wanted them to or not. And they're saying, no, this shall not be done. Whether we are in war or not, but it must be, if they are to be quartered, it must be one of request. So, yeah. Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So the cops or federal police, whatever, want to search your place and because they believe you have something and they want to seize it, they must have a warrant. Then they can come in and search. But they have to list the place to be searched, the persons, and what they expect to find. Fifth Amendment. You probably understand this one, but I'm sure there are people that don't. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subjected for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any crime case to be witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So the first part is saying, it is your right to not say anything that might incriminate you. In trial. Now, exceptions: land or naval forces, so military or militia, while they are in time of war or, trying to keep the peace. So, yeah. So, that is how you get plead the fifth. They shall. It also says that anybody subject, you cannot be put up for double jeopardy, is what it's saying. Nor any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So if it's a trial that can have you see lifetimes or years and years of jail time, and especially death, you cannot be put in trial for that same crime if you've already went through it once and been found not guilty. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Again, I plead the fifth. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. They must have a fair and equitable trial. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. This is where public domain comes from. The government can seize the property, but they have to give you just compensation for it. Anyway, Sixth Amendment: in all criminal prosecutions, an accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by any impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. This was kind of violated during the Jim Crow era because there were a lot of very partial juries. Which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. So you should have a fair jury who has not heard, well, they can hear it, but they have not come to conclusions yet. That's why they try to get people who haven't heard of it, but yeah. And a specified district for the crime needs to be listed. And to be informed of the nature and and cause of the accusation. So they also need to be made aware of why they're being tried. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. So you have a right to hear the witness's testimony, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. So they must be given the chance to find witnesses that can verify what they say, and to have the assistance of a counsel for his defense. So yeah, you get a lawyer. You cannot be without one. You can claim yourself a lawyer, but that's often the stupid way to go. Seventh Amendment: in suits at common law, where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. So, if you're brought to court over suits, over monetary matters, then you have the right to have a jury if it's for a large amount. Here they're saying $20, which is a lot more in today's money. So yeah, let me do this. We'll move you down here. $20 in 17. Oh, nope, too early. 87. Oh, not 2787. 1787 in today's money. In 1787 is equivalent in purchasing power of about $659.67 today. So it should be really pushed up to about 660. But anyway, close that window. That's what that's in regards to. Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. The excessive bail needs to be looked at because often many people are put in jail for money they cannot post bail on. The rich, yeah, they can afford $1 million bail. They can afford that $50,000 bail. Average person, not really, no. Ninth Amendment, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So, one amendment does not eat away the rights of others. Which, yeah, this was currently what was used in decisions like Roe v. Wade, Griswold versus Connecticut, Obergefell, and yeah, but the current Supreme Court kicked this one out, and Clarence Thomas even announced, yeah, we need to get rid of some of these others like Griswold versus Connecticut and Obergefell. One he didn't list that was also decided on this was Loving v. Virginia, that allowed interracial marriage because he's married to a white woman. But anyway, and the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So, if it's not a power that is verified and listed in the Constitution and its amendments, it should be left up to the states. So yeah, that's what the original Bill of Rights state. Now that we've gone over that long introduction, let's look at something else here. This is a speech given by Franklin D. Roosevelt, January 11th, 1944. The Economic Bill of Rights, it is often referred to as the Second Bill of Rights. And we're going to use this to show y'all a little something. Excerpted from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's message to Congress on the State of the Union, this was proposed not to amend the Constitution, but rather as a political challenge, encouraging Congress to draft legislation to achieve these aspirations. It is sometimes referred to as the Second Bill of Rights. So this is what FDR said we should be doing for the American people. It is our duty now to begin to lay the plans and determine the strategy for the winning of a lasting peace and the reestablishment of an American standard of living higher than ever before known. We cannot be content, no matter how high that general standard of living may be, if some fraction of our people, whether it be 1/3 or 1/5 or 1/10, is ill-fed, ill-clothed, ill-housed, and insecure. This republic has had its beginning and grew to its present strength under the protection of certain inalienable rights. Among them, the right of free speech, free press, free worship, trial by jury, freedom from unreasonable searches and seizures. They were our rights to life and liberty. Remember, we just read over the original Bill of Rights. Those were mentioned in it. As our nation has grown in size and stature, however, and our industrial economy expanded, these political rights proved inadequate to assure us equality in the pursuit of happiness. We have come to a clear realization of the fact that true individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. Necessitous men are not free men. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictators are made. In our day, these economic truths have become accepted as self-evident. We have accepted, so to speak, a second Bill of Rights under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station, race, or creed. Among these are a right to be useful and remunerative to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms or mines or the nation. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. A right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return, which will give him and his family a decent living. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. The right of every family to a decent home. The right of adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, or unemployment. The right to a good education. All of these rights spell security. And after this war is won, we must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights as to new goals of human happiness and well-being. America's own rightful place in the world depends in large part upon how fully these and similar rights have been carried into practice for our citizens. So yeah, Bill of Rights that FDR suggested need to be added, a second Bill of Rights. There should be no one without money. They should have some way to earn a living. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. So they should have adequate income to cover food, clothing to clothe themselves, feed themselves, clothe themselves. And what a lot of people in government don't give a crap about these days, recreation. They should have ways to release steam to enjoy life, because just going to work every day and nothing else is not enjoying life. That's what he was saying, and there are things that need to be done to ensure a pursuit of happiness. The right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return, which will give him and his family a decent living. Yeah, your small farmers or even your mid-level farmers, they have a right to be able to sell their products to keep their family in a decent lifestyle. Which is why I'm all about subsidies to help the American farmer. Not your big damn producers like fucking Cargill and shit. I'm talking about your mid to small farms, small to mid, that average people run. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. Remember, this was 1944. It wasn't that long ago that we had trusts and monopolies ruling the U.S. 1880s, 1890s, early 1900s. So it wasn't that far long ago. It was like looking at the 1980s from today. So yeah, they shouldn't be squeezed out of market because they can't afford tiny prices. Have to try to make some level of money. They can't afford to face down with big companies. They should have the freedom, though, to be able to survive and compete fairly. The right of every family to a decent home. So there should be no homeless. And furthermore, there should be no homes falling apart. They have a right to a decent house. Holes in walls and roofs, not acceptable. the right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. So, yeah, we should have the right to medical care with the opportunity to have somewhat healthy life. Which, right now, the price gouging in healthcare, medicine, all that, unsustainable. Unsustainable. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment. To a level, some of this was already put in. The economic fears of old age, I think it was under FDR that Social Security came into being. I think Medicare was a bit later, but yeah. And you have other things like unemployment insurance. There's still things, if you get sick, oh, we can't help you. And then the right to a good education. Meaning you should have the right to K through 12. And honestly, all public colleges should be free as well. You know, you shouldn't have tuition. Community colleges, state colleges, they should be tuition free to in-state students. Period. But yeah, these are not revolutionary. You know, the ideas of everybody with a decent home, everybody should having the ability to have economic freedom away from things like old age, accidents, sickness, unemployment. They should be able to get well educated. You know, should have health care and the opportunity to live a healthy life. You know, they shouldn't have to be forced out by giant corporations and monopolies. You know, cover the farmer. Help him establish a decent living. You know, you want everybody to have proper food and clothing and even abilities to relax and blow off steam. If it's something that'll make you happy. The right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms or mines of the nation. So yeah, unfortunately, Franklin D. Roosevelt would pass away before the end of World War II. This was only in early 44. The war itself, it was either I think it was in early 45 that the war ended, like March, May, something like that. So yeah, honestly, these are still things that should be allowed, should happen. But we've been so propagandized that we think, oh, I shouldn't have to contribute to anything to help anybody else. We have politicians who are like, no, I don't think we should give them anything. And to be honest, that's a bullshit line of thinking. Absolutely a bullshit line of thinking. This used to be something we looked up to and thought, yeah, this is achievable. But nowadays it's like, no, screw everybody. And unfortunately, because, we backed this whole free market, no! We've gone back to a Gilded Age level again. It's the second Gilded Age. It's what we are in right now. The same kind of bullshit that happened in the 1880s and 1890s, early 1900s. Oh, America's making more money than it's ever made. That's because like 75-80% of it's going to the fucking top. It's not going to the people who need it. But yeah, this has already been a long video. I'll go ahead and end this one here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting some links in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.